Oof. Excellent connection to YouTube. They're happy. So we'll got the YouTube crew coming on board.
Had to sport the Padres hat today because they threw the first no-hitter in franchise history last night.
What?
Yeah. Very first no-hitter in San Diego Padres franchise history. In over 8,000 games, they've never had a no-hitter.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could be a Cub fan.
No, I'm always going to be a fan of the fathers.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I guess there's all kinds of goofy records out there, and thank God for databases now that we can find that stuff in a nanosecond.
Yeah, what's good about it is Musgrove, the guy that actually threw the no-hitter, he's a San Diego native. Makes
oh, really?
Better.
Oh, I bet he's.
Oh, yeah. That town's going crazy right now.
Yeah. If they could, they would be. I mean,
oh, yeah.
They're going crazy individually in their own houses.
Yeah, or on the beach.
Introverts unite separately in your own abode.
I'm sure Catalina Island's going crazy too.
Hey, that's a reference we're going to see here in just a few minutes.
Yes.
On a slide coming through.
Live there for a minute.
On Gordon's slides, that's actually one of his references. So, yay! Somebody will know that story. Let's say hi to the YouTubers. See if there's anybody out there wanting to talk. Oh, Wayne snuck in. Oh, there he is. Wayne didn't wake up before he showed up, but he's here.
Yeah, but I just had my second drink of coffee, so I'm still working on it.
Like I go make a pot.
You should. You should. Dino's here. I don't know if we can see him, or hear him, but he's here saying hi.
Probably at 3 or 4. I was just looking at him.
And Al, oh, you can call me Al, is here. Steven, KE5BYV.
Grab 1 or 2 of those.
Welcome. Eric, we did. Chris, Jay-Z, and Chris showed up. Well, good for him. Hi, Chris. I feel like Romper Room. Galen started that in the executive committee meeting the other day, and now it's been in my head for a week.
Good morning, Mark.
I say, hello, Gordo. How are you, sir?
We are just fine, and we'll stand by, and we'll do video right on the half hour.
Oh, awesome. Welcome. Sound good from here, and everything should be ready to go.
Oh, yeah. No, everything is fine at this end. Go ahead.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Phil Sennett snuck in. I don't know that anybody's ever said that before.
And then Donna's here listening off in the wings.
Uh-oh, I gotta sit up and fly right.
Good morning.
Hi, Donna. How are you?
Good.
All right, Lee, it says your audio's back. Are you back?
I am back finally. I had to switch over to hardwire.
So you sounded good here, but that can happen.
I don't know what it is. I've got a new set of headsets, and all of a sudden it just all went to digital noise.
Oh, jeepers. Bluetooth's wonderful.
Ain't technology grand? So I will beg everyone's pardon if I disrupted anything.
No, it sounded good here. It never sounded bad. I mean, all we heard you say is, "Oh, that audio went to pot," and or something like that, and it sounded gorgeous while you were complaining about the audio, so we were all happy.
Oh, yeah. You heard what I was hearing, though.
Yeah,
Or not
I would
hearing.
bet. None of that came this direction, so you're good.
And I saw Ben that I've talked to a couple of times. And hello, Ben.
Good to see your face, Mr. Lee. How are you doing there,
I
sir?
am doing well. Thank you, sir.
That's Kenny Rogers Jr.
Hey, that kind of.
You got to know when to hold them.
No, that was one of my favorite songs growing up. I used to play a little tiny ukulele and sing that, and then Elvira.
Oh my!
Oh yeah, no, I've since dropped that habit.
You need to bring that back for Christmas parties. Put on
There you go.
a Santa Claus suit, or give the uke to Lee and let him do it.
I wish I had his money or knew Dolly Parton better.
Well, we could probably make one of them happy, or one of them happen. I don't know if you can get his money, but we can probably find somebody who knows Dolly.
I met her once years and years and years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, when I was doing concerts,
Ah,
I met her. It was just because she was visiting somebody else's concert. Actually, she was visiting Linda Ronstadt's concert.
oh, there's a name that, oof,
And
I'd
I
have
will
followed
tell
her
you
long
that
places.
I told my wife this. This is the first time that I ever understood what they meant when they said a peaches and cream complexion.
On Linda Ronstadt?
The woman had an absolutely gorgeous skin. I mean, her face was just beautiful. Yes,
You
I
didn't say
looked
that more than like 6 or 8 times, did you? Because
and yes, I looked at the face.
your your eyes have been blackened.
Looks like everybody else is nice and warm and inside. I'm the only one sitting out in the cool weather in my garage.
Yeah.
Oh, Ken Sanborn usually shows up in the same position, so you'll have a buddy there shortly, is my guess.
All right,
But,
very good.
Hey, Davey was out on his front porch, I thought.
yeah, that's right. He was. Where'd he go?
Well, I just spent the last hour outside mowing before the meeting, so I've been out.
Hmm.
Oh, you're
So
that guy.
Chris will be sneezing the rest of the day.
Hey, I didn't see you out mowing my grass.
Chris, which headsets are you using?
By the way,
I've got the Galaxy Buds Pro.
Okay.
does anybody need any dandelions? I've cornered the market.
Do you
No,
deliver?
I believe I have plenty of myself.
I will.
I need
Wine
some.
making.
There's about 2 square feet on my property that's doesn't have any.
Well, I'll give you some.
Fill in that the blank spot. Hey,
Well,
while we're talking about dandelions, David, WWDAV is wanting some help getting his tower up. And I think he's a little bashful to ask anybody from the club to help. But if there's anybody out there that would be of a mind to give David a hand, you might contact him and offer.
In particulars about how tall or anything like that?
It's already up. The tower is already put together and it's got a winch, electric winch on it. So all he has to do is put that up, but he just needs help putting his hex beam on it, getting it lined up and getting it in the air. And really it's probably a very simple job and there's no lifting to speak of.
Never use the simple word.
You just jinxed it. I think we did the same thing at Lauren White's house, and I think it took about 38 seconds or something like that. It was the quickest setup we've ever seen. That like 4 or 5 of us stopped over there after meeting one day, and then poof, it was up.
Lauren is getting his X beam back together again pretty quick, I think. So he'll be ready to go up the pit again soon.
Oh, so it came down in the ice, I guess is what you're saying?
With spring coming here, maybe we should think about putting together a team. We can just visit from place to place.
I think it's a good idea. Might hit that in a Big Mac net in the mornings. See what you can gain for traction on that. Yeah, Dino's, it should be pretty easy. It should be a lot like Lauren's. I mean, Dave should be just a lot like Lauren's. It's just stab it on the end because the pipe is the only thing that broke, the mounting mast or bent.
Yep, that is correct. And it's already down, and he's got the antenna put back together. So, and the tower's laying on the ground. So all it needs is just to be stabbed on the end of it and push the button to crank it back up in the air.
Well, we'll find somebody to do that.
Morning, gentlemen.
Where's Ron?
Lee, have you discovered where you put those plans for the antenna design?
As a matter of fact, I'm still looking, but I will get it to you so that everybody knows what he's talking about. Is the plans for the antennas that I built for the club.
Oh, the J-pole, the J's?
Yeah.
The wire J's? Oh, good.
Ones that go on the vans for the MS 150 meeting.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I know I don't have them.
The Bartlesville Club would like to make their own antennas so that it's easier to transport and stuff.
Yeah, these guys right here.
Oh, what do you got there? Is it on the net?
It's on the net. I don't have the net. I don't have the antenna part. I've got the PVC part.
Yeah.
It's on the W5NOR/suction.
/suction.
So you got to carefully say that. It's a diction test.
I got that part. We'll get those parts, but now we got to get the wires and stuff.
Yeah, if you can get the wires, we'll put that up there too. That would be great. Yeah, those worked out great.
Leave the picture up there for just a second. Let me describe something to Ron.
Go ahead.
If you look at the picture, the upright post in it has to be the 200 thin wall PVC.
Okay.
If you use schedule 40, you're going to kill your signal completely.
Really? Wow, that's a big distinction.
Yeah. So that's important. So, and you want the complete part of your antenna above the first tee.
Oh, well, okay.
So you'll need to cut that mast part that you put the antenna inside of longer so that you have all that above the first tee. And then the rest of it, the tees and the side arms can all be made of schedule 40.
Okay. Thanks, Lee.
Sure.
And that the dimensions here are listed: 40 inches long for the vertical stabilizer one, and then 12 inches for the middle piece, and then these are 4 inches long, the horizontals. The big thing I was going to tell you in the picture, I need to flip the picture somehow, but we learned in Tulsa, put them on the driver's side, because where towns have no trees trimmed, we whacked. How many did you have to rebuild, Lee? 3 or 4?
Especially when we went underneath the toll gate at the Western Park in Bartlesville. When we went,
yeah, it is a good idea to put them on the driver's side.
When we went to Willow Rock, we went through the toll gate there, and it knocked it right. The roof knocked the antenna right off the vehicle.
Yep. Height matters. No, they worked out well for us.
That's something I would have changed if I were building a new command post. All of my antennas are down the right side. And like you said, we whacked trees with them. So next time or sometime it would be down the driver's side instead of the passenger.
Yeah, I remember somebody in Tulsa was following us, and And I quickly keyed, said, watch out for the trees. And you could hear the guy behind me, whoever it was, keyed down and said, too late. And you could hear a whack on the microphone. And they just pulled right off of that broke them in two. Suction cup stayed, but broke them in two.
Anyway, it's better than nothing, so we'll do it.
Yeah. And they're cheap and they'll
but the antennas stayed good.
Yeah.
The PVC broke, but the antennas stayed good.
Oh, good. Yeah. And that's the way to do it. The PVC's $1.80 for a 10-foot stick.
Yeah.
So it's 90 cents worth of PVC we destroyed.
We got lots of people today.
The kid snuck in.
Tell me.
There's what's wrong.
Tell me today, did all my friends have fun at play?
Did all your
Hey,
friends have fun at play?
Hey, Ron,
Guess what?
234 over the frequency in megahertz. That's your quarter wave length. And I had a diamond 50 antenna, which consists of a number 6 copper wire stuck inside of a PVC pipe. Well, the PVC pipe broke. So we went to Lowe's and bought thin wall schedule 20 PVC and fabricated a radome for that antenna, and it worked fine. So what Lee said, the thin wall pipe works great.
Okay, got it.
And actually, the reason for that is
Here, bud.
I found out that Schedule 40 has a bonding inside of it that is used for UV protection, but it also kills RF.
My goodness, who would have ever thought?
Yeah.
We could start a government conspiracy out of that one, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we used to model electrical equations on water flow, and that's proof that you can't always do that. The Schedule 40 is water pipe, right?
Yeah.
Or
Pressure means something different there, but yeah, that works. What's Peter Laws trying to show us? Oh, he's got some stuff from Gordon's old days. Look at that. Let me pin this for everybody. Who is that good looking young guy?
That's his publicity photo.
Novice class.
Now. This is from 1990.
Oh, wow. We had radios back then?
Yes, we did. And we were happy to learn about them from WB6NOA.
Yeah, but they had motor generators in them.
No, they didn't.
Those were the days.
Oh,
They glowed,
They were.
and they glowed in the dark.
No, all my stuff is transistor. Stop it. I actually learned about the when they updated Technician to drop the code. I learned about it from an article by Gordon West, WB6NOA, and I immediately ran to Radio Shack and bought the study materials written by Gordon West, WB6NOA. So I'm thrilled. I don't know about the rest of you, but
You're
I do QSL 100%.
do you? This is what you bought at Radio Shack. Now, when they dropped the code, you bought this one and you bought the tech book and you studied just the books. And then, of course, 6 months later, I thought, well, I might as well get the code. So I listened to Gordo for, what are those, 2 C90s or something?
Put that down. Sit in my lap.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
they were very short for learning the code, but at least we made it fun.
And it worked. I mean, that's how I learned Morse code. I had to get my speed up eventually, but oh, it was great. Thank you for that, sir.
What are those things on the left?
Those things on the left.
On the left page.
Oh, those.
Those MP3 holders.
MP3 holders, that's right.
And you know, we still get a ton of Morse code
folks tuning in. So we still teach the code.
Very good. I think I also worked you from our college club station, which I'm wearing the shirt today. You can't really see it. You and Carol Perry used to do a school net around noontime. I forget what time zone on 28303.
That's right. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I had that same book. I guess it'd be 31 years ago when I got my license.
They had radios back then.
This may seem silly, but what I liked about your book back then is the answers right below the question.
Yep.
You can't find a book like that anymore. I don't know why.
Mark?
Yeah, I've got one.
Mark's a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I don't like the ARL book because you have to turn the pages all the way to the back of the book to find the answer.
What was good about this book, I always thought, was that it was a Q&A book. But, I mean, look at under the question about call signs, there's a whole table of prefixes. Not all of them, it's just the ones that allow third-party prefix. But you learned all the ancillary stuff too. So
well, that was all of them back then, Peter.
Okay.
There was W1AW and W1AZ, and that was it. That's all I had.
Yeah. This is the only way I remember Ohm's law.
Ohm's law.
Gentlemen, good morning. It's 9:30 by my clock. Why don't we'll get this show on the road and welcome to the April meeting of the South Canadian Amateur Radio Society. If we were meeting in person, we'd go around the room and tell our names and our call signs, but hopefully whatever platform you're watching this on has your name up and your call sign, or maybe part of that anyway. So we'll skip the introductions this morning, unless you want to go back to romper room again. We can make that happen if you wish. At this point, Wayne, why don't you introduce our speaker?
Okay, I guess it helps when I unmute. Okay, we'd like to welcome Gordon West, who is our speaker of today. He's the host of the popular podcast Ham Nation, as well as written many books. I have used 4 of his licensed books to obtain 4 of the ham radio license that I have achieved, and thank you very much for that. And as well as other things, thank you for doing what you do to further the ham radio. And without any further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Thank you, Mr. West, for being here, and you had the con.
Well, thank you, Wayne, and a very good morning to the, now let me get this right, Southern Canadian, but you're in Oklahoma. Is that right? I got to get this squared away. But anyway, it is a delight to be here with you. And we're going to talk all about tropo ducting. But before we do, I want to say I'm delighted to have listened to all of you for the half hour before we started, because you're real hams. You're not just there in front of a computer looking at a screen and saying, oh, I made that I got another contact. No, you did it the old-fashioned way to get where you are today. So we're going to talk about tropospheric ducting, and we're going to talk about the 2-meter band and the 440 band. And, a lot of hams have gone before us on the 2-meter band. And we're not going to talk about long-range moon bands. No, this is moon bands. Boy, those were the days. Now we can do it, of course, on MSK 144 and other digital modes. We're not going to talk about satellites either, but satellites were sort of fun because you would remember that as the satellites are rolling, the conversation would come in and out.
kilowatt makers and WB6NOA.
And of course, it would always roll when they would give their call sign, so you had no idea what their call sign was, other than a 5 or a 4. Those were the days. We know that CW is going to live forever, because for working meteors, this is what a CW signal sounds like coming off of a meteor. And only a ham could appreciate that noise, huh? Well, if you're up near the Canadian border, we have the opportunity to work Aurora, and here's what Aurora sounds like. Yeah, neat stuff. But again, it points out that CW lives, and so far, no computer has beat out our brain and be able to pick out these CW signals. Finally, before we get into Tropo, we know that the ionosphere gives a wide signal, something called phase distortion. And it's always funny. Just when the fellow's ready to give us QSL information, he goes in the phase distortion. Now, this is FM on the 10 and 6 meter bands. Take a listen to this phase distortion.
Okay, I am located in Stony, Massachusetts. That's SCON.
Isn't that the truth? Always going into the big phase. Well, let's take a little look at what tropospheric ducting is all about. And before we go into our next slide, the troposphere is that area of our atmosphere just above ground level. And the troposphere is what we call the weather layer. And the weather layer is constantly giving us all sorts of excitement because it does something very interesting. Back in the 1798 period, Gasparo Monge was able to actually see through tropospheric ducting targets visually that were 80 miles away, but they were upside down. In Greenland, and we're going to see an upside down target today, Greenland was able to see all the way across the Atlantic on one morning, and the landmass was also upside down. Well, in the 1935s, 1938, phantom signals were coming all over the place. It was 33 that Marconi and Mr. Hall were able to span 258 kilometers via the ionosphere. But things were happening in the atmosphere, that area right above us, the weather layer, and Hawaii in 1940 with their early, and they were on the 2 meter band, around 144 megahertz. Hawaii was beginning to say, what's going on? And they could actually see on certain days, usually in July, the mainland of the United States coming back as a radar echo. In 1950, the Navy inaugurated the trade winds experiment and discovered that in June, July, and August, there was a regular path between Southern California and Hawaii. And good old hams, we explored that on the 220 megahertz band when John was able, W6NLZ, John Chambers, able to make contact with Ralph, Cage 6UK on AM. In 57, we made it on FM and CW. 1970, went up to 432 and made the contact between the USA and Hawaii. And then after that, all the way up to, in 1994, 5,760. But we were never able to get up to 10,000 megs, and that's what we're going to be looking at next. All right, we'll go to our first slide. And we know that line of sight is calculated on these nomographs. And if you're not line of sight on the nomograph, well, comms are probably not likely. Well, they gave us a 10% fudge factor, but nonetheless, line of sight played a very important part on being able to calculate if we're going to be able to make a contact. So remember the line of sight, but it's not line of sight from the west coast of Hawaii to the west coast of the United States. Make that the east coast of Hawaii to the USA mainland.
Up in Monterey County on Hughes Ridge. That's spelled phonetically. Charlie Hotel Echo Whiskey Sierra. Hughes Ridge. And about 18 miles east to southeast of Monterey.
Now, this was a recording that came out of Hawaii on being able to tune in to some of Southern California's 2-meter and 432, 440 repeaters. That's 2,500 miles. So you can see that it's quite a deal in usually July. And that's when the tropospheric ducting really begins. Well, again, the troposphere is that lowest layer to the Earth. They call it the weather layer. And we know the weather layer that for every 300 feet of altitude, going up 300 feet, we lose 1 degree Fahrenheit. So the higher we go, it gets colder. The temperature at 5,000 feet would then to be 20 degrees colder. Moisture, as we go up 1,000 feet, we lose a half a gram of little water droplets floating around. Pressure decreases logarithmically. So at 1 kilometer, we've lost 100 millibars. Normally, our pressure is 29.53. Well, what's all this weather stuff? How does that have anything to do with tropospheric ducting? Well, the big weather maker in the troposphere are the high pressure systems that begin to float in from the west going to the east. And when these high pressure systems stall, the weatherman and weatherwoman will say, well, we're going to have 2 or 3 days of hot weather. It's going to be smoggy and sticky. That's the time that we ought to get on the 2-meter and 440 band and start exploring what else is out there beside our local signal. As that high pressure system settles in, it traps the smog, it traps all the air pollutants, and it traps it anywhere from about 500 feet to up to 1,000 feet above us. And you can see that, and we'll see that shortly in some of the slides here. So the weather layer creates this inversion. And the reason the temperature all of a sudden goes up instead of decreasing with height that we just explored, that's because that high pressure system is beginning to drop because it's heavier air than the air below it. And that dropping of air is called subsidence. Well, it drops down to about 1,000 feet, and then at about 1,000 feet, this dropping air begins to layer. And we'll see that with a laser a little toward the end of the show. These layers then will stack up, and if the layer is 8 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the air above it, which is usually dry and cold, as well as 8 degrees warmer than the air below it down at the deck, that air is usually a little more moist, and it's colder as well. This high pressure duct is the tropospheric duct that runs its magic on not only mirages that we see on a roadway down low, but this high pressure duct is the one that creates a nice waveguide for VHF and UHF radio waves. And we've calculated that while 6 meters sometimes is affected by tropospheric ducting, truly it is the 2-meter band, 220, 440, and it is mode independent. So here's that warm air duct capped by cool dry air and sometimes nice cold air below it. Our line of sight would only go maybe 50 or 60 miles on the 2-meter band. But wow, when tropospheric ducting comes in, it gets caught up into this band of 7 or 8 or 9 degrees warmer air. That band can be either 300 meters thick or sometimes only 10 meters thick. And the wider the band of the warm air tropospheric duct, the lower the frequency. And the more narrow that duct, the more pronounced it is, the higher frequency we can operate on. So this is a good look at what's happening. It occurs every June, July, and August, but sometimes even in May. And that's like a couple weeks away. So the high pressure system you can see on the weather charts. There's also Hepburn does a wonderful calculation of where all the high pressure cells are. And what we're looking for is that dry, stagnant air, that subsidence inversion. If we were to look at temperature on the left-hand side, it's progressively going to get colder as we go higher, remembering that normal air temperature is going to decrease 1 degree Fahrenheit for every 300 feet of altitude, and going up to 5,000 feet, that temperature again is going to be 20 degrees colder. But here at about 3,000 or 4,000 feet, bango, it all of a sudden becomes warmer. And that is what we call the tropospheric duct. And that's when the hams ought to get ready. Again, you can tell that you're probably going to have tropospheric ducting throughout all of the United States, from the West Coast to the East Coast, by looking at your weather maps and seeing where that high pressure cell is, and going outside and physically looking at the tropospheric duct as what would be smoke hanging in the air. And it's usually right there at the inversion layer. This is in Denver, Colorado, and they were working stations all the way down in Texas because they had this high pressure cell overhead. The air began to sink and it settled in, this case, maybe only 1,000 feet above the area. And you can actually see what's happening there with the tropospheric obscuring some of the mountains lower in altitude. Here on the West Coast, something eerie happens in July. And that is, we can look out at the ocean and, well, we see a sailboat naturally, and we've got some surface winds. We've noticed all day that there's been a band of brown air sort of hanging over the water. And if you look carefully, you can see the lighter color, and then it turns into a very dark. Well, those are clouds. No, they're not. They're actually reflections off of a super tanker that is waiting to come into the LA Long Beach Harbor, and it skews that for about 50 or 60 degrees. So that's actually not a cloud, but a form of a reflection, sort of like in a mirage. And it's a very eerie sight when we're looking out here and seeing that. There's another great shot. And again, that black is not clouds. It's actually an optical illusion. The oil rigs offshore, all of a sudden during tropospheric ducting, they look a lot longer, and it's so eerie. Now, here's what's happening. Take a look. Landmass off to the right, and just off the tip of the landmass going left is, well, what is it? Is it clouds? No, that is a reflection of the land off to the right in a thin band. And look at that super tanker out there on the water. During tropospheric ducting, whoa, is that smoke coming out? No, it's not smoke. It is an optical illusion. And if you look carefully at the landmass to the right, you see that it's pretty distinctive above the tropo, but in the tropo, it's sort of blurred, and that's where the temperature has gone up. Well, you can imagine the party goers in Florida during Easter vacation several years ago that said, I think I'm going to put down my drink and stop drinking completely. This would be the Easter weekend crowd, because I just saw a boat go by with a boat on top of it upside down. Now, I don't know if we can do the video, but let's see if maybe we can maneuver that computer around to do the video. And here we go. And yeah, there we, whoa, what the heck is going on here? Yeah, perfect tropospheric ducting condition. And that is, this tanker is looking upside down. Now, notice to the rear of the tanker, all that black area, that is the optical illusion that is taking place via tropo. So now we'll go back to the slide that we had just a few moments ago. And we're giving everybody a good workout on it. So these things will trap, that is, these things meaning the tropospheric duct, in their 8 to 10 degree warmer temperature, trap a narrow band of radio frequencies as well as optically transform the signal to go and go and go. So again, during the summer months, July is usually the best month for tropospheric ducting due to the high pressure system that comes in from the west. We actually send it your direction, and it ends up as tropospheric ducting. And the warm air inversion can be seen easily. It's one of those days where you go, oh gosh, it's hot. There's no wind. And I see this band of brown air above me. That's the time to get inside and start tuning around. And I first suggest tune around to the weather stations up at 162, 400 and higher. If you're able to hear weather stations, go to one not in your area. Just pick one that's normally like Weather Channel 3 or Weather Channel 5. If you have one of those little weather monitors, and you may be surprised that, whoa, I'm getting weather reports. Go to your 2 meter that usually has out of band receive capabilities. Start tuning around. Oh my goodness, that's a weather station coming in 200 miles away. Yeah, that's happening. So tropospheric ducting, very mysterious on the way it looks. And many times in the early morning hours, as the atmosphere is beginning to settle into layers, we'll have strange things occur. The breakwater's in the foreground, but behind it, 26 miles away, is a small island we call Catalina Island. And while it has a narrow, low area of landmass, look at this, it opens wide open. In other words, the island doesn't look anything like it should. Well, before computers took over the ham radio monitoring, the ham radio operators would tune in, and we would listen for the Hawaiian beacon that was on 2 meters, 222, 432, 1296, and we would listen with open squelch. We would listen in the CW or sideband mode, watching and listening for anything coming in. As the more modern radios came in, we'd use noise reduction, digital signal processing, and we listen for the beacon that's on 24 hours a day, coming from Hawaii, all the way left, all the way to us, all the way right. And when we see cloud patterns like this is a good view of what tropospheric ducting is all about. Can you hear the beacon? Oh, it's... Now can you hear the beacon? Hear the beacon? Let's see if we can hear the beacon. The beacon put up by Lou, N6CA, and others, the beacon had a unregulated power supply on the final tone at the end. So after the KH6HME call sign, listen for the rise of the tone. And that was great because many of us operating DSP, that changing tone frequency would be enough to get through DSP. Listen for the rise of the final dash. Oop, yep, that was definitely Hawaii coming in. And we could tell by the Hepburn report. Go to dxinfocenter.com/tropo. And DX Info Center ends with TRE, not CENTER, but TRE. This is the William Hepburn report. And as you can see, he does a world map, and then he also does the USA and the East Coast, Midwest, as well as East Coast. And where we see the red areas, that's area of intense tropospheric ducting or temperature inversion. In the old days, we would use these to see when we were going to get television DX on TV channels 2 through 6. Sometimes even channel 7 on television. But since we've gone from analog to digital, there's not a lot of reports coming in via the old way of looking at the TV and seeing the little crosshatch marks. So the unstable patch shows ducting interruptions on this particular case. While we do have some red areas, it's not continuous. Now, looking at the USA, we see that Texas has a opening, and their opening is beginning to form between Texas and Florida. And tropospheric ducting is fairly common between the Midwest to the south, between the Midwest all the way to the east of the Great Lakes. East Coast, many times from Nova Scotia, we'll hear repeaters on FM all the way down from Florida. The Florida Keys, that's a hot spot for VHFers and UHFers, weak signal operators. They'll pick up signals from Texas. And again, we tune around the band. And if we hear a lot of repeaters that normally we don't hear at Key West, that tells us the band is opening up. Plus the telltale, look at the weather map and look for that high pressure system. So tropospheric ducting on this particular day is not huge up in your neck of the woods. The letter U means it's unsettled, which means it's got clouds and there's other weather systems coming in. What creates tropospheric ducting is that still weather with almost no wind. As hams in Hawaii, hams are amazing. This is Paul Lee, KH686.
We're located on the side of the Mauna Loa, which is a volcano.
Imagine the beacon site in Hawaii is on the side of the Mauna Loa volcano. And there were periods when Paul, KH6HME, unfortunately silent key now, was not able to get to the beacon site directly because of lava flows. Is this dedication of a ham radio operator? You bet. And what he would do is when folks would call him on the telephone and say, Paul, we're hearing the beacon, get up to the beacon site. He would drop everything he's doing and say, no problem, I'm into it. He'd load up his gear all ready to roll, and he would drive the 3 hours up to the beacon site. As he's driving up to the beacon site, and I went up there once with him, he had his FM radio tuned in on his car, and all of a sudden, I'm hearing music. And now I'm hearing station identification. This is XC2, blah, 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 in Baja, California. We were getting Tropo FM signals on the FM music band, and we could literally see when we were inside the tropospheric duct. But the higher we went, the music disappeared. Paul said not to worry. And when we got to the beacon site, it was at that sweet spot on the mountain. And Paul described it.
8,200 foot elevation.
8,200 foot elevation on the side of an active volcano.
8,200 foot. And we're about 25 miles west of the easternmost shore of the island, about in the center of the island.
Now, remember, this is Paul coming in on 432, but listen to the mode. We worked him for hours via tropospheric ducting. I'm in California and he's in Hawaii. Listen.
So how is that coming out there? Is signal strength still holding up to the Gordon?
Yeah, it sure is, Paul. Tell us what mode you're on and tell us what frequency, over.
We're on 432.074 FM 432.074. Real nice signal out here. You got enough signal strength, so it's 100% quantity at the present time.
Okay, Paul, how far apart do you think we are?
2,500 miles.
Wow. And you know, the beacon site is now automated, running all the digital modes, and operators say, yep, we got Hawaii yesterday. Yeah, you may have got them on your computer, but nothing beats the real world of somebody busting their butt to get to the top of an active volcano. You're out there listening to the hash coming in. It's amazing that the thrill is almost gone because folks are just doing it automatically rather than the good old hams that just listen and listen and listen. And here's one. We didn't think at the very beginning that anything more than CW would make the 2,500 mile path. Well, then we introduced single sideband, and sure enough, the path is there. But somebody said, no, it'll never work on FM because of, as we heard earlier, phase distortion or something like that. And as you can see, when Paul gets up to the beacon site, that's all the silver stuff on the right, he brings his transceiver with him, and he brought a multi-mode transceiver. And we first started out on sideband, and we were the very first, I think, in the USA to say, well, let's go to wide FM, plus or minus 5 kilohertz, and see if it'll work. Take a listen. So FM made it. We thought, wow. And it made it so strong all the way up to 432. We thought, gosh, we're on the 432 band. Let's try amateur amateur fast scan television, 6 megahertz wide. We made it. Fast scan television from the top of the Mauna Loa volcano all the way to the west coast. Now, the antennas are good old Yagis. I think those are RIW, 2 RIW Yagis. And there's 2 for the 2 meter band, 4 for the 432 band. They have 4 for the 1296 band. And we have different dishes for microwaves because I'm into microwaves. But look at this. This was the reception of the signal coming in from Hawaii on amateur television, 6 megahertz wide. Absolutely unbelievable. It stayed clear for about 15 minutes at the peak of the tropoduct. And while the peak finally subsided and the picture went into mush, and this is analog, we then couldn't see it, but we could still talk not as strong on some of the bands. So this is what we've been able to accomplish, and that is comms all the way up to 5.7 gigahertz. And that's Paul. Hopefully that's not turned on while he's standing right there, but it's not high power. All of these contacts are below 100 watts. And when we go to microwave, we're usually at the 2 to 5 watt level, not with any traveling wave tubes. There's Chip in 6CA. And again, Chip is the one that has developed all of these transmitters, all of the beacons out of his own pocket. And he lives in Torrance, but drives about 20 minutes to a secret spot up on a hill called San Pedro Hill, Palos Verdes. He sets up his mobile. And again, he could probably do this at his house on a computer, but nothing beats getting out there and just putting up your own antennas and the thrill of being able to turn them toward Hawaii and actually hear the Hawaiian beacon coming in. So you pick your spot. Here we are down at the beach, and we found that the low level elevation was actually better than some of the higher elevations. The only problem was the interference from the law enforcement that saw this big antenna aimed out to sea. And we said we were tracking whales. Tracking. Oh, okay. All right. See ya. Had we explained we were a ham radio and transmitting, we would have probably been kicked off the sand. But you never know. But that was our contact with Hawaii right on the beach. You don't need huge antennas for tropo, but most important, you do need to know polarity. And that is, if you're trying to pick up a tropo signal from Hawaii beacon, it's horizontal. If you're trying to pick up some of the Hawaiian stations driving up the mountain roads on FM, that is vertical. And we thought, well, does the tropospheric ducting rotate? And the answer is no. The propagation remains the same without any rotation, without any phase distortion. It's amazing. It's like waveguide. And as you know, with waveguide, polarization is critical. Well, can we hear the Hawaiian beacon if we're vertical? Nope. It's just amazing. But turn the antenna horizontal and bango, it comes right in. Well, there's unfortunately less and less weak signal operators that have horizontal systems. And there's a lot of great repeaters, FM repeaters, and of course they're vertical. So for those of you with a VHF, UHF, dual band, white fiberglass antenna on your roof during periods of tropospheric ducting, which again, you can literally see, make sure that you have the vertical antenna in place when you're tuning in FM signals down on 146.52 or 445 or 446, and you will get some surprising contacts. So, for working the beacons and weak signal work, the horizontal loop is a good way to go. But for working non-sideband stations, even digital stations, they are generally vertically polarized. And yes, you can easily work them mobile. So yes, QTH is everything. Here, down at the beach, Chip, K7 Juliet Alpha, here, Chip is getting ready to beam a signal to Hawaii. He's horizontal, so he's going to be working some of the weak signal operators. But we also have a vertical antenna not seen in this photo. So when we're working the Hawaiian stations that are FM, they're going to be off the vertical. So for those of you in the Midwest and the other side of the Rocky Mountains from us, your tropo path is huge because you have no huge mountains that obstruct comms from where you're located, maybe near the Canadian border, all the way down to Texas. And it's all dependent on the weather. And as you can see, headset, and we're on the air with just a modest radio. So the prize, of course, for those of us on the West Coast is Paul. Now, notice he's up at 8,000 feet, yet the best reception at the other end of the downward tropo, which sort of slants down, is right at deck level. And you can see that Paul is just above the clouds in the background behind him. And those of us on the West Coast will drive and find a hot spot. And usually they're not much higher than 100 or 200 feet. For those of you in the Midwest, your hot spot is probably right there at almost deck level. In fact, you can actually go to the top of a skyscraper, parking garage, and sometimes be out of the duct and hear squat, yet your buddy down there on deck level says, I'm hearing these mobile stations 190 miles away, loud and clear. So the tropospheric duct, like a waveguide, is very, very selective in its capability. So we encourage all of you to think about tropospheric ducting when conditions get just right. All right, we'll now go back to live. And the way we demonstrate tropospheric ducting is get your better half to mix up layers of fluid. And remember, the atmosphere is very close to how fluids will begin to develop individual layers based on their density. And remember, density is mass divided by volume, and the refractive index of air is 1. So when we have a sharp change in the refractive index of air, or a sharp change that we have here in these suspended fluids, it's going to do something magic that we'll talk about, and that it's going to reflect and sometimes refract different radio signals for literally as far as these 2 or 3 layers begin to form up and become quite distinct in their boundary. And so we'll go ahead and remind folks that you first pour into the bottom of the dish here honey, which has a refractive index of 1.4. Then the blue, a little hard to see, is Dawn dish soap, refractive index of about 1.06. Water, a refractive index, in this case, of 1. And then vegetable oil that is lighter, 0.9er, and alcohol, and that's at 0.7. And you don't want to shake this, because here's what we're looking for. We're going to be able, and you see that bean, be able to come back down. Yeah, goes up and comes back down. Let's see if I can get it over here. No, probably a little, maybe over here, and you can see it a little bit better. But this is the reflection of a signal inside a tropo duct. So once that signal gets into the tropo duct that you see right here, it will follow that and will just slightly bend back, as you can see here, as we do the laser on the suspended fluids. And the angle is very important as well. You'll have much longer communications range if you get right into the tropo duct. However, if you're too high, you'll never get into the duct. And if you're below the duct and there's still enough ducting at that level, it'll begin to reflect the signal, and it will go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth in this fluid, as you can see here, until the duct begins to unform. And when the duct unforms, here's what happens. Bingo, it's a mush, and you're not going to get good tropospheric ducting. So I encourage all of you to consider the great fun of working weak signals. And again, you don't have to, if you don't have a single sideband 2-meter 440 rig, you don't have to do just sideband, do FM, and maybe set up a schedule with other hams hundreds of miles away, or just get out there, turn on the rig, and start dialing around the FM band about 146 to 148. Ooh, there's a signal coming in. Listen for a little bit. And he says, yeah, I'm just about ready to go into Key West. Wow, Key West, and I'm up here near Colorado. We have had reports of tropospheric ducts that have been nearly transcontinental. Unfortunately, you're not going to hear Hawaii because of all the mountains in between us, but on a clear path, especially those of you in the plains area, you're going to get signals from all over. So what I would like to do now, and I've got about 10 minutes before I have to jump out and do another net, is if any of you have ever worked a station a lot further, not on ionospheric skyways, but actually tropo, how about a quick report and let's hear who you've talked to. So I'll turn the net back over to our net manager, and thanks for rolling those slides. And who has worked some stations on FM or sideband or CW hundreds, if not 1,000 miles away? Over.
Gordon, thank you very much for the presentation, first of all, and gotten a lot of good comments coming through on the comments. And Denny is our tropospheric man. Is he got a mic open here somewhere?
He does now.
He does now. Tell some tropo stories to your fellow Californian over there.
From California, I did work Hawaii.
Oh!
On several occasions, and worked stations in Northern California and Washington and Oregon from a Hawaiian repeater.
Oh, wow. You went through a repeater. That's probably one of the longest comms you've ever had, huh?
Yeah, it was that way for hours in the morning in July, I guess. And if you gained any altitude, you'd lose it. You had to be down at beach level.
Yeah.
I was in the city of Palmdale, Torrance, or Hawthorne, and I worked them there, as all my other buddies. From here in the Midwest, I've worked down into the Caribbean, Cuba, Florida, all the southern eastern seaboards, all over Texas, all the way to Colorado, all the way to the Canadian border, and a couple times into Canada. I'm here, but those are extremely rare. And
wow. And did you make those contacts on sideband or FM?
FM, and sometimes from my car.
Wow. And I bet that was during the summertime, right? June, July, or August?
Yes.
That is great. All right. Well, thank you. And sure hope when I'm next in the Midwest, maybe we can hook up. Thank you for that great report. Well, this has been a fun session because before the net began on Tropo, I was listening to all of you talking about some of the great experiences we've had in ham radio. Certainly, we all embrace digital communications. We all embrace the FT8 and all of the wonderful modes that absolutely get through when you don't even hear that a signal is there. And my frustration is that it's not the thrill anymore of being able to actually hear the weak signals coming through and driving around and finding a hot spot. We don't want to lose that. So I encourage all of you to continue to stay active. Yes, go digital with your computer and work many of the weak signal digital modes. But don't forget, there's still a lot of us out there that enjoy just plain turning up the volume and listening and making adjustments on our gear and making the contact live and direct. So this is Gordo, WB6NOA. Want to thank my wife, Susie, in 6GLF. She is the one that comes up with the concoction. I'm sorry there's no more alcohol at the top of the tropo layer here, but the cat may have licked it or something like that. But a very warm, and we hope in version 73 to you all.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have to make one of those tropospheric jars. That might get a reason to have one of those hanging around.
Oh yeah, they're fun.
The picnic.
Yeah, the picnic could be a great deal.
Found the same thing works with margarita mix.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it.
You guys are real hams. You couldn't do margarita mix on a computer. All right.
7-3, man.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Great.
Gordon, thank you so much for being with us today. Let's see, make sure my mic's open here.
You're good.
Yes.
That
Yes,
was
it is.
awesome.
Very good. Again, Gordon, thank you. What a great program that you've given us today. And the information is just terrific. All right, well, let's get back into the more mundane things of our monthly meeting. Again, thank you for everybody that's here. I think we've picked up a few since we first came on. Speaking of meetings, your executive committee met a couple of nights ago via the Zoom, of course. And we discussed the potential for going back to in-person meetings. We think at this point that perhaps we might be looking at the June meeting. We'll go ahead and do May via Zoom unless something really weird changes between now and then. And we will continue to monitor how life is and how our world is. And perhaps by June, we'll get back to some semblance of in-person meetings. And we also will always, or at least we foresee, maintaining an electronic presence. So if you're unable to make a in-person meeting or you do not feel comfortable with in-person meetings, the electronic option will always be there, or at least it will be for the foreseeable future. One more administrative note before we go on to our tech committees and nets and hamfests and so on. I would like to remind everybody that your membership dues are now past due. If you have not paid your club dues this year, I would suggest doing so, please, if you so feel. Your dues do support a lot of things that go on with our club and make things possible, such as keeping our equipment in shape and supporting our testing and all of the things the club does. So if you have not paid your dues, please do so. If you have don't know whether you've paid your dues, you can check that out on the club website. And you can do your dues, I believe, online, or you can send a check over to Hank and we'll take care of that for you. All right, let's start out. Mark or someone, technical committee, how's things running?
Is Ed there? I think he's still there. Go ahead, Ed. Or you want me to? I'll take it. The technical committee, everything's running well. I think we have rebuilt the Broadcastify machine. The Raspberry Pi that was running it went away during the storm, and I built that one back up. So you should have better audio on the web if you're looking at w5nor.org/listen. Remember, that's a good place to listen at work or when you're doing something else and you can't get a hold of or can't listen to the repeater. As severe storm weather is coming up, that's a good place to listen to that net when you may or may not have a radio at your hands. But everything else is running. We had some tropospheric ducting or some kind of inversion last weekend, Aurora, I think it was, that hit us last weekend pretty good. But as we heard today, that's what happened. I don't know that we've got anything else. 8.8 as a sidebar. One of our related friends, Mike Salem's 8.8 machine is down at this point. We pulled the controller out of it. The inbound audio to the controller has some sort of distortion. The receiver's fine, the transmitter's fine, the output of the controller is fine. Something in the inbound audio chain is zorked, and Michael's looking at that. So we'll hope to get that back up and running shortly.
Question.
Yes.
The noise that everyone's been hearing on the VHF repeater for a week and a half, are you saying that's all tropospheric ducting?
Not tropoducting, Aurora ducting. Not ducting. Aurora picking up the noise floor is where that's going. I think Ed's measured 3 S units, 4 S units, plus or minus during that whole period. So
it's pretty good that you can knock other people's signals off the air.
Yeah, that's 3 or 4 S units is 18 to
FM
24
capture.
dB. Yeah,
Strongest FM signal gets the receiver. So
yeah, so it's up there. It's been out there pretty good. But it's that one's receiving as it should. Unfortunately, it's receiving stuff that it's the noise floor is up there. If you've got a radio that's got a noise floor on it, watch it. I think Ed said it went up from S1 to S5 on his little 9700.
Super duper DSP SDR gooba booba.
Yeah, which is 24 dB. But yeah, that's what that is. It'll settle down and then it'll come back after a while. But same propagation happens at HF, happens here. Thank you, Galen.
Very
Anything
good.
else?
Nothing else from the technical committee, correct?
Nothing at this
Very
time.
good. Let's have some operating. Let's talk about nets. I don't, is Jim on this morning? 6 meter net? Somebody have a 6 meter net report? Okay, well, just remember that the 6 meter net is on Monday nights, 50.200 upper sideband. Hop on, good times. Lee or Mark, the DMR net?
Go ahead, Lee.
DMR net meets every Monday night at 8:15 p.m. on talk group 3140 DMR. And it is the statewide DMR Aries net. We'd appreciate it if you come check in with us. It's been really good. A lot of learning going on. We talked about last time I was on, talked about doing the weather nets and the weather training. So if you have had it, that's wonderful. Please get your certificates in. And also congratulations to Mark on his new position.
Very good. I'm going to go off script a little bit here. Larry Goodwin, is there still a D-Star net or a statewide digital type net beyond the DMR Monday night net?
No, I quit having people show up. So when it got to the point that we had 4 or 5 weeks that I was the only one show up, I quit doing it.
Okay, very good. Dr. Phil, how about the Aries net?
Good morning. The Aries net happens Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock local time on the SCARS repeater 147.060. The net control operators are doing a fantastic job. We're having an average of about 35 check-ins, 35 to 40. So very popular net. A lot of information on that net. So hope you can join us.
Bill, what's the backup plan should something happen that we have an actual Aries or Skywarn net activation and our machine goes down? What's the backup plan with the 8.8 machine being down as well?
The first option for a backup is the 147.060 simplex. So hopefully everyone has simplex programmed into their radio so that if for some reason we cannot get through the repeater, we switch over to simplex and operate there. Of course, the 146.88, I may have that wrong, was always a backup, and that machine right now is down. So the next backup from that would be the SCARS UHF repeater on 443.700, is that right?
Yes.
And 448.700. Remember it on UHF, the repeater spread is 5 megahertz. So you're receiving 5 megahertz different from what you're transmitting. but that's generally automatic. If you set your set your radio at home to transmit on the proper UHF frequency and put it in the duplex mode, then you'll be receiving 5 megahertz off on the receiver frequency, and that is the next backup for us. So if for some reason you don't hear the stations that you think you should on the STARS repeater, of course, if everything is dead on 147.060, then you're not going to hear anything on simplex. So the next backup would be to go to UHF. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, Phil. Knowing that we have quite a few new folks with us today, does anybody have questions? Hi, Sonic.
Sonic decided to check in.
Yeah, there you go. Does anybody have questions about what Phil was just talking about on our options for the AriesNet?
I'll throw in something that I had the question on just yesterday, and that is for the new guys on UHF, when you're programming it into your radio, please make sure you put the 141.3 not only for transmit, but also for receive. It is toned on both sides.
85 UGO. I would double what Lee just said, and that's also true on the UHF, 141.3 PL tone.
If anyone needs programming, first of all, everyone probably should, including me. I'll be right in that group too. Run through your options, get your radios out, turn them on. If you normally check in on the
turn them on.
If you check in on 2 meters, you know it works on the 06 machine. Don't bother trying the 88 right now because it won't work. Actually, Mark, would it give a
nope?
Is it transmitting anything?
Nope.
Okay.
OFF.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, we have a similar problem with the React GMR machine right now, but it'll transmit a carrier, it just won't pass any audio. So
it works simplex.
The controller is in Mike's
turned off. Yeah.
The controller is in Mike's office, so no.
Very good.
He actually does have a bypass switch on that, and we couldn't get it to work the other day. Otherwise, it would be up, but it's not.
Good deal. Try simplex. See if you can remember how to get your radio there. If you don't play with that every day or quite often, sometimes you forget how to get there.
Your radio has at least 100 memories in it. I'm sure of it. You can put in a memory for simplex. You can put a memory in for reverse. You can put a memory in for whatever you need to put in. Don't scan those. Mark it to be skipped during a scan because it's the same stuff. But yeah, do it now so you don't have to worry about it then.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a good test for a Tuesday night net.
It does sound like a good test.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when I'm up next. Maybe whoever's up next will do that. And I noticed a lot of heads bobbing up and down of the old timers, when Peter's like, go ahead and program it now, try it now, test it now, make sure it works. That's what it's about.
Wait, did you throw me in with the old timers? Wait a minute.
Oh yeah.
Was your head bobbing while you were talking?
Yeah.
It often does. Yes.
His head was bobbing while he was bouncing up and down underneath that bus.
All right, we'll move along. Denny, someone tell us about the Gossip Net.
Well, the Gossip Net, of course, follows the AriesNet on Tuesdays at 8:30, where you can get on and talk about anything you like and discuss some Tropo stuff, which I like to do in a bunch. And a lot of people think I was kidding them when I told them about working in Hawaii or Florida or something like that. Well, you've seen the results. It does work at times. Anyhow, come join us on the Gossip Net, 8:30, Tuesday night.
That's pretty cool, going from California through a Hawaii repeater back to the mainland.
I've done that on several occasions for a couple of weeks, working Florida or Washington and Oregon and Northern California via Hawaiian repeaters. Really is a rush, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, Bill Baker, 10 meter net.
Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. we have our 10 meter net on 28.445 upper sideband. We've been hoping that 10 would pick up a little bit, and it hasn't yet, but it will. Maybe when we get into the warmer weather, things will open up better. So anyway, come join us.
Now that it's warmer weather, maybe I'll get my antennas where I can start participating again. Because I can hear you guys barely, but there's a lot of times that I know that you're not going to be able to hear me. So I don't see Michelle, but Michelle, are you here or somebody with the YL net? I believe there's a YL nets. Is that on Thursday nights maybe? I'll bet you can find Michelle, Carrie, and find out more if you're interested in participating with the ladies. Finally, Peter, Siren Net.
Every Saturday at noon, weather and football permitting, SCARS runs a siren test net. Immediately following the spin down of the sirens, we begin the net, and observers have picked their sirens, and they tell the net control whether or not that siren sounded, and if there are any defects in the sounding or if it doesn't sound. And we report that on to Mr. Kitch and Mr. Grizzle of Norman Emergency Management, as well as Noble and Newcastle. And we've been doing that now, I think it's been 3 years now. I think 2017. Oh, that's 4 years, isn't it? Holy cow. Continues to go strong. If you live in Norman or Moore or Noble or Newcastle, we'd love to add you to the list. If you go to w5nor.org/siren, you will find rosters of sirens with who's assigned to them. You'll find maps of the various cities and where their outdoor warning sirens are located. We're looking for quality reports on a siren. I hear sirens is great. I'm glad you hear sirens, but what we need to know is we need to know if the siren that you are listening for sounded or did not sound, so that we can report that to the cities and they can have a technician take a look at it. So today, I believe, not Wayne, Chad is. Chad is next. Is that his name? That's his name is Chad, is it? Yeah.
Chad, yeah, it
Still
was
is. Still is. KD5ZYD will be the net control today for today's iteration of the net. And it's a pretty quick net. We're usually done in 20 minutes or less. And it starts as soon as the sirens start to wind down here in Norman, usually, which is a little bit before they wind down and more, but that's okay. But yeah, if there's inclement weather, we don't do that net because the sirens don't sound. So, and
I don't know whether there's been any emails today, but yes, mine are turned on. So
okay,
Moore's will be.
It's a lovely day. So
my window,
yeah.
And by the way, if you happen to hear if you're under a siren and not normally part of the net and want to report on it, again, make sure you know where you're at, so that we have a good indication of which siren is being reported on. But just because you're not on the list for Moore, if you happen to be in Moore and under one of my 42 units, tell us about it.
Yep. Same with the 68 in Norman. We as I said, there is a map there on that website. There are also lists that describe the nearest intersection. That's always key, especially in a gridded state like Oklahoma. If you can give us the nearest crossroads, we can figure it out. We can figure out which one you were hearing more than likely, especially if you can see it, because you know right where you were. So
and you probably said
this. The net is held.
This is on. I'm sorry, Lee. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for the new guys, the net is held on UHF.
Yes, thank you.
That same comment. It's on the SCARS UHF machine, the
443.7.
All right. Any other? How about just plain operating? Anybody doing anything good this week or month? Very
I'll
good.
bring up about a new radio that I got.
Go right ahead.
It's pretty much like everybody thinks about Baofeng, but it's the B-Tech. And the difference is it's the UV5X3. Difference is it's a tri-band, 8-watt, and case is more rugged on it. A couple of the things really came to mind on it, but so far so good. Really like it.
What's the
and
third
you
band?
get the Nagoya antenna that is a tri-band antenna as well.
What's the third band?
220.
Okay.
Which we don't have around here, but maybe it might be a thought for the future.
There's one in the city, is there not?
There's a couple in the city that I've been told.
There used to be one here in
Haven't get it
Norman, but
yet,
it's been
but
gone
I
for
figured
years.
if I do some traveling or something like that, it might make it available to me.
This is Mike up in Oklahoma City. The 220 on the Sandridge repeater, I think that covers down to Norman because I've heard Norman folks on it. So it has great coverage.
You happen to know the frequency on it?
Give me 1 second. Let me grab my handheld and I'll tell you.
Pull the crystal out.
It's 220 something, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's exciting.
Here's my newest radio.
Okay, it's 224.92.
22492 is any tone?
And that's W5GDL is the repeater. It's on the Sandridge Tower or building.
Any tone?
Yes. Just one moment here. I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any other new equipment, new operating, fun operating?
I'll just show my newest radio. I don't know if you've seen one of these.
Back it up just a little bit from your camera. There you go. Okay, so tell us about it.
That's the MTR 3B from L&R Precision. It's a
look at that.
It's like a micro park on the air radio or whatever you want to call it. Soda.
Cool.
Oh my goodness. A whole nother radio that I didn't know about.
What's the output on it?
Yeah, it puts out 5 watts with 12 volts. And then I got this red cord. I didn't realize they made these cords that convert like 5 volts to 12 volts.
Sure.
So then you got a perfect battery, like if you have a cell phone charger or whatever.
Doesn't have a big resistor in there, does it?
I don't know what it's got in it. It's just a cord, and then
seven diodes.
Somewhere in that end is the where
Regulator.
it converts it.
Yeah, that's wild.
So is this a transceiver or just a receiver or what?
It's a 3-band transceiver on CW.
For what bands?
It does. I forget. Oh no, it's 4 bands. I'm sorry. It's 80, 40, and 20.
Could you put some info about that up in the chat? I'd like to take a look at that.
Huh, okay. I just forget because I can't do 80 with my antenna. It'd be too big.
So it's CW only?
Yeah, that's all it does.
Price range?
I think it's 300. I forget.
It's just crazy. That's just crazy.
Can you imagine if they had something like that during World War II?
Oh my God.
NI 5G.
Go ahead, Bang.
I hope to try to figure out how to put an Cushcraft R8 up and vertical. And I wonder if anybody in the club has R8 or R9 that they've put up.
Anyone? Well, I'll bet you there's people here that can help you figure it out.
Well, I'm all ears.
Where you want
Use
to
the
mount
V.
it?
Did
You
you
said
want
a
the
vertical,
V
right?
port there, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
it's an all band vertical actually the R8 is 40 through 6, I think. So the R9 is 80 meters through it, but we're just getting the 40 meters through 6 meters.
So what is your question?
Does anyone else have an R8 that's put it together or understands how to put it together?
I've put together similar antennas before, but not that particular one. I think I put together an R4.
Without stating the obvious, which is read the manual, but that's not going to help any of us, right? Nobody reads that.
Are you having problems putting it together?
No, it's on its way to my house right now. And so hopefully, within a week or two, I'd like to try to put it together.
I don't think you'll have a problem.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Where are you going to mount it at?
We're digging a hole, putting concrete and a pipe in it, and we have a bend over metal connector that allows us to raise and lower it.
Are you going to use ground radials?
No, it doesn't require ground radials.
I would put it in the middle of my yard so I have room to add radials to it.
You'd still put radials on it?
Yes.
Would that turn it into a dipole?
No, it's still vertically polarized.
Yeah,
okay.
I just asked where he was mounting it because where I'm from in California, a lot of people have those rooftop air conditioners, and we just bolt them right to the air conditioner.
Well, that's smart.
I would think that would be right next to a noisemaker.
Well, it's California. It doesn't run very often. It's not like here. And then if it does not require vertical or elements, radials, thank you. Then mounting it on that and that up on the attic would work out, or the roof would work out well.
Actually, it does have some radials sticking out from it almost to the top.
Well, they've got some at the top, some in the middle, and some at the bottom. So they've got some that they're actually using.
Okay, well, if we can certainly continue this conversation later or offline.
Hit us on Elmer Night if you need some more help.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. And is there someone I could call to pick their brain on it?
Sounds
Don't
like
all scream at once.
You're the expert until proven otherwise. But if you run into problems, we'll be happy to help you dig out.
Okay, well, you know what an expert is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else with new equipment or new equipment coming or operating? Anybody work the last man standing final event that went on for like a week or week and a half?
85 UGO.
Go ahead, Phil.
On the other end of that spectrum, I have several very old Motorola mobile radios, one Motrack, and several pre-Motracks that all UHF that I have, and they're available for anyone that would want that old stuff. Otherwise, they're going in the dumpster. If anybody's interested in old Motorola radios, give me a call. Thank you.
Very good. All right, well, let's move on. Peter, I had not forgotten you. You were up next. Peter, VE report or testing report.
A good session the other week. Mark's going to put up the list. There it is. Can you make that? How do I make that bigger so that I can read it and see? There it is. So yeah, so we had 3 new hams last test session. A couple guys got technician. One gentleman went directly to general, which is always fun. And then we had 3 folks come back and get their general upgrades. And we had Sam's brother-in-law upgrade to amateur extra class. So good session, good time was had by all. I think this was the one where the licenses were delayed till the next morning, if I'm not mistaken. I still don't know why that is. We had the stuff into the VEC in plenty of time, and I know Bob uploaded it to the FCC because on our new dashboard we can see timestamps of when stuff happens, and the FCC just didn't process it till the next morning. I mean, it was fine. It was the next morning, but we're so used to getting it 2-3 hours that it's like, this is outrageous. It was the next day. Yeah, so it was fine. Next test session will be May 6th, virus permitting. The FCC has still not, despite what they said in the Federal Register, they have still not implemented the fees. So you are, if your license is coming up for renewal and you're within the 90-day window, please go ahead and renew. If you're going to upgrade, the sooner you upgrade, the better, because you'll avoid that $35 fee. Will happen at some point unless Congress changes their mind, which, you know, who knows. So get that done. If you're going to apply for a vanity, now is the time. He's not here, is he? AG5PQ's call sign has been canceled, and he is now KA5HFE, which is his old novice call sign. That's pretty cool.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here.
He was there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations on the new call sign. That's fun.
24 hours is nothing. On the 19th day, the FCC moved.
Yeah,
That's by design.
That was
the vanity call sign applications actually get seen by a human or two.
No, it's by design. 17 days after the receipt, the next business day it gets processed, and the next day it shows up on the web. So that's
right. That's right. And that was because when they first opened up the vanity calls, there was a lot of contention, and they'd have a hopper full of requests for, you know, like W5AA or some cool call sign like that. Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that. The other thing that's sort of new but also old is that they've started, when something happens to your license, like you upgrade or you get a vanity call, they're bumping out your expiration date by 10 years again. They had stopped doing that so that your expiration date stayed the same until you renewed it. And now they're back to bumping it out again. So you're getting a free renewal, which is good because it pushes that $35 fee further into the future for you. So I think that's all I had. Next test, as I said, May 6th, virus permitting.
Very good. Thank you so much. Mark Klein, tell us about your new responsibilities.
Today is my first day. I should have my first day cap on. Today is my first day as the ARRL Oklahoma section manager. Kevin Odell in 0IRW has held that post for a number of years, and then he got a couple days off, and then a number of years, and he's looked to get out of that position, and I was the one that it fell on. So the role is basically a communications liaison between members of the ARRL and the ARRL. So it's kind of local face kind of thing. The Aries piece all falls in this. So all the Aries operations falls in this role. Mark Kunklin is doing a great job on that. If you are a member of the ARRL, hopefully you know about this stuff. If you're not a member of the ARRL, it's probably a good time to go join. I joined when I was 25 in 1985 as a life member because I figured I would never be doing any other hobby. And that was a wise choice because back then I paid, I think, $600 and I got a life membership, which was great. That's still around. So if you're one of those 25-year-olds and you're going to do this for a while, look at the life membership piece. Pays 25 years worth of dues, and I think they pay it out in 2.5 years. So it's a kind of a cool thing if you're a long-term kind of guy. If you're not, $49 a year gets you access to some great magazines. One of them comes in the mail every month of your choosing, and then all of the stuff is online, the digital stuff. So if you want to go back to find an old article for something in a old field day issue or something like that, you can go pull all that stuff up. Lots of great other benefits that are there. You get an ARRL.net email address and all kinds of fun stuff. So we'll have more on that later as I figure out the role. But if you have any ARRL concerns or questions, feel free to send them my way, and we'll see what we can do to try to build some stuff. My goal is to get, we've got a lot of good assistant section managers, and my goal is to get that role fired up so that the ARRL liaisons will hit each club. So each area of the state would have somebody that they're familiar with and local to, and can kind of grab that out. So for those of you out of this set Metroplex, then we'll try to make sure we have people assigned to each quadrant of the state. I think there's 37 clubs listed in Oklahoma on ARRL's register. I don't know if that's high or low or whatever the story is. We'll figure it out. But
Very
that's
good.
it.
Mark,
For the new people who are watching on YouTube, would you please explain what is the ARRL?
Oh, good. ARRL is an amateur, the American Radio Relay, I do it all the time. American Radio Relay League. It is the national voice of amateur radio. It is an association for hams, by hams, of hams. It's a $49 membership, but it gets you a ton of benefits, and it gets you a ton of goodwill. The ARRL is the one that lobbies the FCC and government to try to keep our spectrum alive. I know I posted a piece. We lost a little chunk out of the spectrum in the 3.7 gigahertz range a month or two ago, and the government auctioned those frequencies off for, I think it was half of our spectrum, for 81 billion with a B dollars. So all of our spectrum has got some value to it, and the fact that we get to keep it is awesome. But if somebody's hanging $81 billion in front of you, I guess somebody at Congress blinked and says we got to make some money on that one. But the goal with the ARRL is to keep amateur radio up and running for the next 100 and some years.
Very good. Mark, as long as you've got the mic, bring us up to date on the Hamfests and so on.
Yeah, this is a busy, all of this happened in like a 3-day period. So I would have been busy. Don Loving from Ardmore and I worked out a deal where the Ardmore Hamfest had a good location, but they needed some assistance in making the Hamfest work. And Oklahoma City Cora, which is the Central Oklahoma Radio Amateurs, is the one that puts on the Oklahoma City Ham Holiday every year. The OCCC is not going to be available for us to run as a location, and we cannot locate another location that will meet our needs at a price that we're willing to pay. And basically, we've had to cancel a Ham Holiday, which is a ham fest where hams get together and buy and sell stuff in the Oklahoma City area. So Ardmore and Oklahoma City are going together to produce Hammerama Holiday 2021. This is going to be at the Ardmore Convention Center, right off of I-35. It's a quick drive down there. For us, when the Oklahoma City show was in Northwest Oklahoma City, I think Ed's math said it was a 5-minute difference in travel from here to Ardmore versus here to Northwest Oklahoma City. So for us, it's a good deal. Our Cora organization, which SCARS has 3 members plus myself that are part of that group, and we will be helping to put on that show. So if you're wanting to help volunteer at a Hamfest, we would love to have some assistance. We have vendors that have a definite maybe is the answer that we're coming up with, but most of the folks are just trying to figure out what's going to happen in October. This is October 22nd and 23rd in Ardmore. But the vendor's idea would be like MTC and all of the Kansas vendors, the Derby Radio Shack, and typical ones that we would have at Oklahoma City's event will be down there at Ardmore. They typically run about 350 folks. They'll probably run more than that this year, is my guess, because everybody's pent up, ready to go to Hamfest. There will be food trucks and for lunch and dinner. For dinner on Friday and lunch on Saturday, and all the information is on hamholiday.com.
Mark, is OCCC gone forever, or is that just this year because of COVID?
Just this year for COVID. Two things is they're not opening the building until fall at the earliest. They're still not even committing to fall school there yet. And the rooms that we use have been turned into nurse and medical training facilities, because they need bigger space to keep students apart. And they're using the dining room and those boardrooms, or the presentation rooms, for medical training, because their load is way up. Everybody needs more medical folks because of COVID, and their sizing is there. They will return to the way they were. The best guess that I have been told is that we will be good for 2022 without any issue.
Okay.
I've been told OCCC loves our event, and I don't know why, but our kind of hands-on thing is what they're trying to encourage. So if they could do it, they would.
So at least for the moment, it's the Ardmore Cora connection is just a temporary this year thing. Is that...
At this point, we may end up collaborating on Ardmore in the future. Depends how this one goes is probably the right answer. You know, we got a new girlfriend. We got to see how it all works out. But I think that's the right answer.
Hey, Mark, let me interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
I'm kind of new on getting on here too, but I noticed that we have Herman ZS1 Hotel Golf on, and I'd like to welcome him. You guys see that?
No.
South Africa.
Where?
It's the ZS1 Hotel Golf. Is in
he's at the very end of my list. Yeah, I got two screenfuls of
bottom right hand corner of mine.
Oh,
he's got his microphone muted.
That's
so
DX, man.
I wanted to welcome him before he went away.
Well, thanks for the spotting there. There, Herman, can you unmic and visit with us? Are you available for that?
Herman, ZS1 Hotel Golf. You copy us?
That tropospheric ducting for
you. Yeah, thanks, Gordo.
Hey, it needs to be unmuted. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what he has to do.
Herman, your microphone is muted.
Spacebar does the trick most of the time.
Well, very good. Herman, if you're having issues getting unmuted or want to talk, just pop in over the top of us at any time here. We're glad you're here today.
Sorry to interrupt, Mark.
Oh no,
that's great.
That's great. I'm done. I was done, so that's good. If you
question. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For this year's Hammerama, whatever it is, will there be a Friday night banquet and session?
No banquet. We're working on, or we're still contemplating Wufong, if we're going to do the Wufong ceremony. But at this point, there's no banquet involved. What we're considering is a group pick a restaurant and say anybody who's interested can meet at this restaurant and do that kind of thing. The food down there is a little weird.
Like an all-ham dinner.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Very good. I'll note while we're here on the topic of Hamfests or things, the Derby Radio Shack up in Kansas, southeast of Wichita, is having their 30th annual sidewalk sale on Saturday, June 19th. Go early, because I understand the good stuff goes quickly, early until noon. So buyers and sellers are welcome according to their website. If you've got any questions, you can call Mark up at, what's his call sign? I've forgotten his call, but anyway, give the Derby Radio Shack a call if you're interested, and they'll be happy to have you, I'm sure.
Ham radio hamradiocenter.biz is his deal.
Yes. All right. Two quick things. Is Hank on here this morning? I haven't seen him. Okay, well, the club finances are good. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, although our treasurer has done a tremendous job of supplying the executive committee with information. Your club's in good financial shape. The revenues are up, the memberships are up a little bit. We haven't spent anything because we haven't had anything to spend it on. So if you're interested in the finances, give Hank Hamner a call or one of your executive folks, and we'll be happy to talk to you about the club's finances. The final thing I have is, again, we're going to bump it back to Mark, who's going to tell us just a little bit about field day, and we will have, don't run off, because we will have a kind of an online vote type thing on perhaps expending some club finances in support of field day. Mark, talk to us about field day.
Hey, Mark, let me interrupt again.
Go ahead.
One thing I wanted to mention was Amazon Smile. Everybody can donate to that. I buy a lot of stuff through Amazon, and part of that goes to our Radio Amateur Club. So I don't know if any of you guys are doing that or not, but some of that portion of that money you spend goes to our Radio Amateur Club, which adds up pretty good.
If you give me a second, let me pull up my spreadsheet and I'll tell you how good we do on that.
About $150 or so.
Yeah, over the life, hang on a second. Let me get my spreadsheet here. Hang on. Now Google is going slowly. Yeah, we do pretty well on that. I just sent an update. There are two programs we participate in, smile.amazon.com. If you use that instead of just amazon.com, you'll be prompted to choose a charitable organization. We are a 501c3 organization under IRS rules, a charitable organization. You can select us in that. I guess you got to search for it, but we are actually in there. When you do that, 0.5% of your purchase will be donated to SCARS, or if you've got another better charity, a favorite charity, by all means choose them over us. But if you don't, please choose us. We get 0.5% of whatever you buy. That's not much, but when enough people do it, it turns out to be pretty good money. The other program we're in is the Amazon Associates program, which I think used to be called Affiliates. That's one where we have on the exam page, at least, we have a bunch of training manuals and whatnot that are Amazon affiliate links, and we get a kickback when you buy those. The rate is actually higher. I think they've changed the rules on that again. It used to be if you clicked on that book and went and looked at it and said, I don't want that, and then you went and bought something else, we still get a commission. And I think they're back to doing that because all of a sudden we got a bunch of money from them. Here's my spreadsheet. The last distribution from affiliates was $20. The last distribution in February from Smile was $116. We've been doing this for about 12 years. $1,695.26 total between the two programs. So yeah, it's pennies from each of your purchases, but boy, it sure adds up, and it pays for a lot of coffee and donuts at the club meetings when we have them in person sometime, hopefully soon. Thank you. It does not affect the price you pay. It comes out of Jeff Bezos' pocket, and Lord knows his pockets are big enough. And any money we can take out of there for charities, whether it's SCARS or another one, yeah.
He can certainly buy us a cup of coffee and a donut.
At least, yes.
Very good.
So thank you, K5DNL, for doing that.
Okay. And back from your commercial, from the commercial break, we're going to go to field day operations. For those of you that are new, field day is a piece where we all get out in a field and we spend the day. So
Yeah.
I'm done. It means we set up radios, transmitters, receivers, antennas, feed line, food, and we operate from noon, from 1 o'clock Saturday to 1 o'clock Sunday, 24 hours straight, overnight, all that good stuff. We start setting up at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. And the goal is to make as many contacts as we can with as many people as we can. And in a simulation of emergency operations. Last year, I'm sorry, was it a question or did I?
This is a national thing. It's not just us.
That is correct. Last year, we had 19,000 stations that were set up. Because of COVID, that number is way up. It's usually about 9,000 on club stations. Last year, it allowed people to work from their house and support a club. So we had 15 of our members build up stations or use their stations to work the event, and there's points added on to our points, and life is good. The bad thing is, the points don't mean anything, so we don't get anything for it. Bragging rights is about it. Now, this last year we operated as a club in Firehouse 7 using the diagram I have on my screen. I might blow that up so Peter doesn't go, what? We did the operation with about 13 to 14 people. There were 2 half people, so I'm counting them as 13. We set up an operation in the Firehouse 7 training center, which is top left of the screen, the blue piece, the blue roof. And we had an antenna out here in the field signified by the X. We had a vertical DX commander type that Ken Sanborn put up. He has agreed to come do that again. We've got a multi-band commander. He's going to fill the rack this time, and we'll have tons of antennas. So that will be out there in the field with the vertical. Some radials. I think he said the radials are up to 20, if I remember right, this year. There is also, since this picture was taken, a 45-foot tower that is on the bottom corner of this building that is, at this point, has coax out to it and has no permanent antennas. So our intent there is to put a 40, 20, 80 dipole, fan dipole on that and string it up in the air to do sideband. So we'll have vertical and a horizontal in that operation. All of that will be operated out of the bottom of the classroom. We also have access to the fire training tower, which is a 5-story-ish piece that on Saturday morning is pretty quick to run up to the top. And by Sunday at 1, it gets a lot taller because it's a lot harder to climb the steps. But we will run off of there with 2 antennas, one going south, one going north. And in the driveway, we have an option for trailers. David Grizzle is working on what he wants to do for testing his trailers, but he's got a couple options. And Galen Kitch is working on his options for his communications truck. So we may vary that depending on what equipment shows up, but somewhere in this field, a view will be the 3 systems operating. South of this picture and east of this picture is under construction at this point. The city is building a new transportation center. There is some really tall, nice steel buildings over there that we could probably throw a dipole to. So there's going to be some options. Mark Clayton is volunteered to manage the digital station on this operation. Bob Gibson, W5RG, is volunteered to do the CW portion on this. They are the leads. So if you're wanting to get involved with something, it will be, I don't think their contact information is below yet, but it will be on this field day page, w5nor.org/FD. So we'll have 3 stations, CW, digital, and sideband up and running 24 hours a day. With that, we need some support services, and those support services usually involve food. The guidance of the executive committee is that we will plan this as a full-blown event where we will have people available to come and go as we please. If COVID changes by June when this happens, we will make adjustments for that. You can still operate from home and have your points count. That has been included for this year as well. But last year we operated the club station by invitation only. So we only had the few people that showed up were there by design. This year, the goal is to have anybody show up as they wish. It's a great way to learn how to run a radio. It's a great way to learn operation skills. The June meeting will talk about how to operate one of those radios. It's June 26th and 27th is the days of this event for it. So food is still kind of fluid, depending on what happens, but I'm hoping that we can talk Ron into doing some food this year for us instead of going to Sonic or whatever we ended up doing.
Did you say food is fluid?
Fluid.
Okay. Like astronauts eat, right?
No, yeah.
We'll all be drinking Tang.
Yes,
Okay.
That's it.
I got you. All right.
That's it. We will hope to, and that's what Galen said the vote is. We will hope to be able to provide food. We will have entertainment, being a fox hunt, where we have a transmitter hunt that you'll be able to go out and chase some things. And
It will not be Mark singing.
it will not be Mark singing. Yes, no. My present to you is I will not sing at your birthday. A fox hunt where they have a transmitter that makes tones, and you go try to find it with your little tape measure antennas. And then what was our education? Did we come up with an educational? Galen, I'm blanking.
We were talking about it. We can certainly make, have racks with the ARRL information, our own information, posters.
We were talking about a Arden, also doing some Arden demonstrations, some microwaves. So we'll have, and that'll all flesh out as it comes through. But hopefully,
may dovetail with a communications drill with the Emergency Managers Association.
Good. Yeah, that was neat. Unfortunately, last year it was kind of crazy because we had such few people. It made it tough to do those alternate things. But it's a great place to show up if you're new to the hobby, and just stand around and watch, and you'll learn so much more at that operation. If you're wanting to help, that's great. If you are new, we have something called a Get on the Air station, GOTA. And if you are a new person, meaning in the last couple of years you have not run any HF stuff, we can build an extra station. Actually, we can't build it. The people that are new can build it. And under our guidance, we'll be happy to help you. But if you have that, feel free. My email's on the screen in 580. The people that have been using radios for a long time cannot run that station or set it up. We can help somebody do that. So we can't come in and tell you you're screwing up and push you out of the chair and say, move, I'll take care of that. So it's just for new folks by new folks, and that's interesting. So if there's some interest there, we'll happily set that up and make that happen for you. There's lists of stuff that are on the piece at the bottom here somewhere that shows who's involved in all this stuff. Put contact information on there. Pulled all the contact info last year and didn't put it back in yet. For this
Hey, Mark,
operation.
would you share my screen just a moment? My left screen.
I can't figure out which one's your left screen. But hold on, let me get you as a. That's wrong dude. Make a co-host. Go ahead and share as you wish. You hit the screen share button at the bottom.
Yeah, this may not work. Let me see here. Screen share at the bottom.
Should say share screen.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Maybe.
You have to switch screen.
There you go.
Seeing,
there you go.
that
That's it. Oh, cool.
So those of you who may not wish to participate in an in-person setting, the at-home option is still available. It doesn't mean you sit behind your normal kilowatt station in your shack with your 500-foot radio antenna. It means you operate in the field. And you can see here, this is how I chose to participate last year. You can see that I was operating in the field, known as my backyard, inside of a portable facility. I did have a generator running, so even though you see some cords, the generator was over here around the corner. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but if you look through the tent, you can see that I had some solar set up. I wasn't successful with that. It was brand new and I hadn't had a chance to mess with it. But you know, it's all about testing our capabilities to assist in the time of disaster. That's what field day is really about. It's not a contest. Yeah, it's a contest. No, it's not a contest. It's about trying to figure out how you do things. That's what we're doing as a club. How would we support our public safety partners, such as Norman Emergency Management, my operation up in Moore. I'll switch screens here. You can see that you know, I had a wireless telephone set up. I had public safety handheld. I had my Go box over here through my head. I had a laptop, a couple of laptops set up. So it's all about learning how to do things. Some will be successful, some may not. That it's a learning process. Again, my solar panels were a learning process, and you know, maybe I'll do better this year. I had some antenna issues, had some operating issues. We ran a communications drill for the emergency managers in the middle of this that I was the net control for. My gosh, what a nightmare. So anyway, the point is, come out, learn. Mark, you may have said this, and I was looking for pictures. If you're a technician and you want to learn HF, there will be HF licensed people that will allow you to be able to operate on HF and learn a little bit about HF, and maybe that will be your impetus to upgrade to general or advanced, or not advanced, extra. So yeah, okay, I come from the old days. So it's all about learning. It's all about fellowship. Again, perhaps we'll have some food there. Go back, put Mark back on the screen here. So it's a major club event. It's probably our premier event of the year. As we've said, hopefully we'll be able to do this completely in person the way we would like to normally do it, back to a normal field day. If we have to scale it back, if we have a resurgence of COVID, we have plans to be able to do that as well. Lee, are you wanting to pop in here?
Yeah, last year I set up a thing for VHF that we had not done before. It was a Go box, completely self-contained with a solar cell, and worked simplex VHF from there.
Very good. Any other comments before we ask for a proposal here?
Food comment.
Go ahead.
Is Ron still on? I haven't had a chance to talk to Ron, but I'm completely confident that he will be able to facilitate the food for us. The general plan would be sandwiches and chips at Fire Station 7 Saturday for lunch, and something Saturday evening. We don't know what yet, but we'll have something, depending on how many people we have and what options we have to do it. But we'll cover Saturday evening, Saturday lunch, and unless somebody else does it, you're probably on your own Sunday morning.
I think, David, I think we'll get that Sunday morning. We'll have breakfast again, is the last I've heard. So yeah, we'll have breakfast Sunday morning.
If David will handle that, we'll have that. We'll have 3 meals. Okay.
Yep.
So to support the operations for field day, your executive committee the other night voted to, or discussed asking our membership to approve some purchases or some funding. What we have, there are three things in particular. One is we normally provide the meat or the entree for the food. So normally a budget of about $200. Phil, are we still good at 200?
I think we're still good for 200.
Okay. We keep asking Phil because he's done this for a number of years in the past and he's very familiar with the setup. We also would like to ask our membership to approve about $100 or so in fuel expenditures for a couple of the personal generators that may be supporting our operations at the EOC or at Norman's EOC. And as Mark said, we have there's some entertainment perhaps or an event during this that would include a fox hunt, and your club does not own a fox, a beacon transmitter. We believe that we can probably acquire one fairly easily, $100 or less. So, Mark, did you have any additional?
I thought we had a fox. No.
It's actually Michelle's.
Oh, it's Michelle's. Gotcha.
Yeah. I set that up in all the past years, and I used hers, but I don't know if hers is available or anymore.
We'll get that or get a different one is the option that I gave her, and she's discussing she's thinking about what she wants to do with it. So, yeah, that's the same device.
Is she still in town or has she moved to Arkansas?
I believe she's still in town.
I believe her plans were to continue to close out the business that she was working with, and at some point consider moving to their retirement area. So do we have any comments on expenditure of club funds, approximately $200 for food, or a budget of $200 for food, a budget of no more than $100 for a fox, and same for fuel? Comments, questions, thoughts?
I'll move.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion from, I believe it was Phil, is that correct?
That's right.
And I saw or heard a second from Sam, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, voting's going to be very difficult here. Do we have, so I'm going to do it this way.
There should be green, and if you go in the reactions button, there should be a check mark and an X mark like that.
There's 1, 2, there's 3. There we go.
I've got thumbs up and.
There is. Okay.
There is.
Do you not have?
Where's the reaction mode?
Okay, so if you'll go down to the bottom of your screen, and you should have participants in chat and sharing your screen, and to the right is one called reactions.
Okay, so Galen, real quick.
Go ahead, Wayne.
So I just want to reiterate that the motion is to approve up to $400 for field day expenditures. Right?
Yep. That would be a good motion.
Yep.
Okay.
200, 100, 100.
Right. And the whole thing about the Fox is because the executive committee feels like the club needs to own their own Fox for this event and future events. I just wanted to clear that before we vote.
But what frequency is it on, or what does it consist of?
It was frequency agile, I think, right?
It's 2 meter. It's a 2 meter transmitter that is frequency agile, programmed by a USB device.
You can put it on any frequency you want.
So any 2 meter frequency we want.
Well,
in the past years, Michelle's was set up on the SCARS repeaters frequency. We did not use the repeater, but we set it up on that frequency because everybody's got a portable that will do that frequency.
Heaven forbid we learn how to program our stuff in the field on field day.
Yeah, that's a good way to test it all out.
This sounds
Okay.
fun. I just didn't know if it was like HF or VHF.
No, good question. Good question.
There are people that do it on HF.
The antennas get a lot easier to handle if you're doing VHF or UHF.
All right. If you've not already put a reaction up, please do so. If anybody has an objection, please state so. That's going to be the easiest way to do this.
I put a thumbs up, but I didn't see where it shows up at.
Shows up under the participants list.
It shows up on your picture too.
We got 14 positive, 15 positives, and no negatives. So I think you're in safe
I
territory.
cannot see it on my picture. So
You want
Goes
it goes to the administrator.
Okay, so the bottom line is you voted to approve the expenditure, correct? And again, is there anybody that has objections or concerns? Okay, we'll go ahead and declare that as approved, and we'll move on from there. Mark, do you have anything else about Field Day?
I do not. It's a fun event. It's a long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's great, and it would really help if people had some interest to jump in early. Lee's already staked his claim, and that's great. So love to have more people involved. I will tell you that I think one thing I'm going to have to do as the Grand Poobah, the section manager, is I'm going to have to go run around a couple other field days. So if we can get somebody else that's interested in making, running more bigger picture kind of things, I'd really appreciate the help so that we can, so I can cut out and go look at a couple other sites. And
just to make
Jake
sure I've got it
Davis.
right, that's June 26 and 27, correct? Am I seeing
Fourth
that?
full, whatever the fourth full weekend is, full weekend.
Yeah.
I
In June.
thought that's
Yeah.
what I said.
That's what I have on my calendar. I just want to make sure I'm.
That is a
I
Saturday
hate
and
to miss
Sunday.
the food.
Yeah. Is that a Saturday and Sunday?
Mark, can I
right.
make a comment?
You go ahead.
I didn't hear all of your thing about the ARRL. Did you mention that if you join ARRL through the club, that the club gets a kickback on that?
That they do, and I'm working on trying to get that figured out. It's still a pain, but if you want to join ARRL, send me a message and we'll tell you what to do. Right now it's a paper operation, but we're working to make that change. So, yeah, the club gets a $10 kickback if you join, so that's a good. Thank you very much, Dean. Appreciate that.
So if we want to join, you'll tell us where to go.
I can always count on Ken.
All right. Do we have any other business for the club?
I don't know if this is business, but I wanted to comment here. Andrea and I, my daughter-in-law and I, worked at ZF1EJ back in July of 2018. And a day or two ago, I finally received a QSL card from them. And this was on 630 meters.
Wow.
Cool.
That's all.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all.
Don't hear that just every day. So, all right. If there are no other thoughts for the club, we'll go ahead and wrap this meeting up. I know some we've already bailed to start toward their siren locations. Unfortunately, I need to go do that myself. I've got one that may be an issue. So, if there's nothing else, thank you, everybody, and have fun operating. Turn it on, tune it up. Let's talk to each other on the air.
Push the button.
Thanks, Galen.
Thank you all.
Guys,
Thank you,
Dan.
everybody. Good to see everybody.
Great day, everybody.
7-3, all.
Great program.
Yeah, it was a great program.
Great having Gordo on.
Good
Whoever
job.
set that up. Thanks
Good
very
job,
much.
Wayne. Yeah.
Wayne's the man.
Thanks, Wayne.
Bye.
Great program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Glad you stayed around, man.
Well, thank you. Really an active group. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Mark.
Hey, happy to have you. You're always welcome. If you got other crazies from anywhere else you want to send this way, go ahead. That's this electronic thing has gone nuts for us, and we do this kind of similar thing every Tuesday night, 6:30 to 9, on Elmer nights.
Elmer night.
And
Good to know. Good to
yeah,
know.
and we've fixed everybody says you can't do anything over the Zoom. Well, we fixed everything from programming to radios to power supplies to antennas. I mean, it's amazing what you can get done.
Well, that's terrific. That's terrific. Well, I'll look for you on Tuesday nights. And I joined SCARS the other night.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm really impressed with the web page.
Thank you.
Now really impressed with this meeting and the guys.
Thanks. Yeah, we got a good group, man. We got a really good group. Oh, all except, no, I can't say that. No,
leave me out of this. All right.
No, it's really, really good. And if we can, if we can help turn Stillwater up, let us know if there's something you want to do to crank that part of the
Well,
world.
we'll be in touch. I know it's a busy time for you.
Oh yeah, it's always this way.
It's just a bright, a good time for amateur radio in Oklahoma with you taking over as SM. Mark, I'm just thrilled about that. And
I'm looking forward to it. Tonight is the big OKDXA piece as well.
Yes.
That's another good event. Those guys are doing great over there also.
Is that 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock our time, no matter what goofy time Kim Elmore keeps.
Well, I have to look for that. I have to look for that link. I don't want to miss that.
It's at OKDXA, the Oklahoma DX Association, which is on Edmund's site. So if you just Google OKDXA, it's first thing that comes up.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Be good.
Thank you. Let me join.
Oh, you're welcome.
Are you guys both professors at OU, OU or former professors?
At OU? No, Thomas Hayes is a current professor. He was here.
Oh, that's cool.
And we've got a couple others that are. I'm an IT guy for a company here in Norman, McCoy Tree Surgery. Jim doesn't do much.
I thought I sent you an email about their club at OU because I'm a student.
Oh yeah. I've been a part of the yeah, that's right. You did. I'm a part of the OU club, been hanging around since the 80s. And
yeah, I guess the nature of my school, so I'm like a different email address. I can't join the club. I didn't know if I can do anything about that though.
I don't know how the official join goes, but Peter, I don't see Peter. N5UWY.
I got an email from somebody with a link on my student email, but when I click on the link, I can't join because it's at the OU Health Science Center rather than OU.
Whatever happened to the club that was on the main campus down in Norman?
That's one we're talking about. That's the OU club. It's the Student Amateur Radio. It had to change the name because OU. It was used to be the Oklahoma University Amateur Radio Club, and OU says that's trademark. You can't use it. So it is now the Oklahoma Student Amateur Radio Club. So that technically is different. It should be as W5TC on the web. Let's go look at that. .org.
Sorry, that bothers me.
What
the school would do that? I mean, it's the radio club.
Yeah. We don't make the rules. We play by them. Yeah, W5TC is there. Now, I understand what you're talking about for your email address, Kieran. Peter Laws, do you have Peter's email? N5UWY?
Yeah, I think that's who emailed me. I forgot.
Send him a message back, and he's not only part of that, he's part of OU's IT, and he understands how all that stuff waltz together. So he's the guy to go straighten that out. And but either way, you can get on the listserv. There's a listserv that's there. And,
yeah. And then I just thought it'd be cool to join since I'm a student.
But there's a Friday, I think he calls it happy hour, Friday afternoon happy hour at 4:00 that he can get you involved in. That's where students going to show up and rag you a little bit. We're starting to get a bunch of them, or half a dozen of them, which is good.
Mark, I would be interested in that as well, since I actually work on the campus.
Oh, good. Good. Who is this? John?
Earl.
Oh, Earl. There you are. I got lights in my face. Send a message to Peter, N5UWY, N5UWY at ARRL.net. N5 ugly weather yesterday.
Yeah, his email is peter.c.laws-1ou.edu.
Peter Laws? Why do I know that name?
I don't know. I don't know that you know anything. No, it's not probably the right way to say that. No, that's Peter's works IT at he was the guy just doing the stuff on the sirens and the VE stuff here on the call. And he's an OUIT guy for the Weather Center. He's been around for 100 years. Probably from earlier.
Us from the Weather Center. I work over at 3 Partner Place.
You're at 3PP? You're at 3 Partners Place?
Yeah.
Okay. He typically works out of the building, but with COVID, he's still working from home. So,
I copied it. So if you work there, you can probably email him with your work email.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see the Health Sciences Center email giving you a hard time. Good. Anybody else? Anything else? John Erickson, I don't know. I see your name there. Do I know who you are?
I dropped in by accident.
Oh, okay. What were you looking for?
I think it was about top field ducting with West, and he must have gone a long time ago.
Oh, okay. We'll have a link up to that video if you want to send me an email address, n5hzr@arrl.org. I'll send you the link to it. And but yeah, he came on 10:30 our time was he was finished. So I don't know what part of the world you're in, but yep, we'll have a video if you want to look at it.
Well, I have to write it down and go send an email. I have to write it down.
Okay. N5. It's on the screen. That's on my screen here. Let me just make it bigger. There you go. That's me. N5HZR@arrl.org. Trying to see who else is still there. I didn't Ted N7HKL. I don't know.
I just moved down here from Washington.
Oh, that messed. Okay. Well,
I was listening to your commentary on Field Day. I've done Field Day with Mike and Keith for quite a few years up in Washington, a K7 LED up on Marrowstone Island, and it's a 6 transmitter operation on 2 different locations on Marrowstone Island, and it's quite an operation.
Yeah, I bet that's a gorgeous place in the world up there. Well, welcome. Where are you at, in Norman or Oklahoma City, or?
We're over in just south of Wellston.
Oh, okay. That's over by there by Ken. K5DNL is in the Shawnee area, and he's the guy that does the 630 and the 2200 meter stuff. So
yeah, no, we moved down here after my job expired, and there. Oh, by the way, there's a granddaughter here, and so that kind of got us down here.
Oh, that magnet always works. So good.
It does. So that, and we moved out of Washington State, where it's everything is in lockdown mode still, thanks to Jay Inslee. He's really got his thumb on that whole state. So we were glad to move out of there and move down to Oklahoma, where life is a little better.
Welcome to Oklahoma.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. And so we're looking to put up a couple antennas. My wife keeps nagging me to go ahead and buy that Roan 45 tower that I got my eye on, and stand that up. Yeah. I should get that going. And
you should.
So now we're just playing around here a little bit and trying to get used to Oklahoma. Had a little bit of weather yesterday. It was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, you'll realize that is a very little bit of weather.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, nice, good club meeting today. I learned a lot from Gordo about the Tropo, but that was pretty educational.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing that all that stuff happens. Denny, our guy that was on there with his story, he's been doing that Tropo stuff for a long time too, and it's always fun to watch him. I think Denny, our guy, Denny here in town, has run 47 states on 2 meter.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So he's done a lot of that stuff.
Wow. Okay, well, thanks for the warm welcome. Appreciate it. And depending on my commitments, obligations, and big project here, trying to finish up a house construction, maybe I'll be ready to do something by field day. You never know.
Oh, you're good. Good. Happy to have you. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Anybody else got something for the good of the country? John, did you get that email address?
Yeah, I've done that tropo a couple times I used to drive an 18-wheeler and I did it on 2 meters. And that's kind of unusual with just a little antenna.
Yep.
But there's a bunch of guys in Coffeyville, Kansas. I actually talked to them a few times on tropo, which is kind of weird, like the same little town, the same people, you know.
Yeah. Hi guys, it's me again.
Yeah, but apparently they have some pretty serious antennas. I don't know if they're still there, but there's 2 or 3 of them that have some pretty serious stuff.
Good. Well, good enough. I'm gonna shut her down and see if we can get the video processed and up and on the web. See you again next time. Thanks for swinging by.